how does my love for sports and my love for God fit? The world treats it as two separate boxes. Everybody's pulling the same direction. We know without a doubt that everyone understands the gospel, is pulling for their kids to understand the gospel, and that we love our kids at such a deep level. That took a couple years to almost get comfortable with. Like, how are people this good?
So what is a max out? Max out, I think, the definition that probably comes up is a total release of all that I have for the glory of God. So on a football field, in my marriage, in the classroom, all of those things, you can give a max out. They just may look different.
This is what Colossians 3:23. If you could put it in a simple statement, you just call it a max out. Like, whatever you do, working it with all your heart. That's working for the Lord, not for man. That's a max out. Yeah, it was quite the journey to come to LC. We were content where we were, and we had a good thing going. I remember coming out the first time and taking the tour and thinking, this is most certainly not the place for me. Then I went back home and we talked and negotiated and called a couple times, and I said no a couple different times, and then they got us to come back on a plane again, and we brought the Dudensings with us. I kind of told them, I said, it is too tall of a task for us to come and try to institute this max out philosophy and biblical worldview of sports without a right-hand man, without brothers, and without a friend, without family.
Right before we came, we were best friends, taught across the hall from each other, talking, and I remember him saying, hey, this school Lubbock Christian keeps calling me, wants me to come out there and be the head football coach in AD. At that point in time, we're literally in the hallway between classes, like, that's crazy. There's no way. Like, but if they're going to fly you out there, you should go. Like, why wouldn't you go out to Lubbock on a trip to look around? My wife was against it for sure. Like, we're not going to Lubbock. Like, he went, like, he can go, but we're not. Well, they came back from their trip and they said, hey, we're going to come talk to you.
So, and I tell people all the time that one of the reasons that I moved to Rockwall, Texas, was to meet Coach Softley. But what happened was I knew that Coach Softley had some ACU connections, and I'm an ACU grad. And he was single at the time. He and I became good friends, just had him in our house and kind of shared some things about Lubbock Christian School. I had just left here, been here 17 years, and so he knew a little bit about that. And I always kind of felt like my time with him, he was somebody that maybe someday would fill the role here.
I had a good situation when I was at the Big 6A. I had good teachers. We had a good situation there. But I think the biggest one is it just became like coming here, you get to see the kids more often. You see the kids at church. You see the kids out in the community. And that so much so just revolutionizes the way in which school operates and the way work operates. It's not a place you go and leave. It's a place that you're just a part of all the time. It's family.
Like a bring tears to your eye moment is Emery and I are here. Our wives are back home with both little babies. We're here for 4 days, and then we travel back on the weekends, and we come back up for 4 days. And we're working hard. We're out of our offices. We don't have homes. We got these little laptops. We're trying to build a whole program. And we got this wild hair that we need to knock down a wall in the MPB with some sledgehammers and some wheelbarrows. And to see you and the dads and the kids show up and be like, we're here, let's roll. We want to max out. We want to be everything that you're cast a vision that we can be. That was pretty special.
The first year of Coach Softley and Coach Dude coming really was an exciting time for LC. So I was a senior that year. That was my last year. And there was just an energy on campus with them being there. There really was some hype behind athletics and football that there hadn't been in the past. They really got everybody to buy in. to everything that they were doing. So there really was an energy that we hadn't had just throughout all sorts of different spots on campus. It really was from head to toe, from teachers, coaches, players. Everybody was excited about kind of everything that was going on.
Yeah, meeting Coach Softley for the first time. It was me, Landon, Hunter Pitt, and I believe Alex Kidden. We met in the LCU baseball facility up top, and we just had a good meeting with him, and he was our first and only meeting, and we got to talk to him, and he kind of gave us a vision of what he perceived, but he more so just wanted to hear from us.
I received a phone call from the chairman of the board at the time, and he said, "Hey, we're looking for a head football coach, and we really need to hit on this one." And I said, there's a guy. I said, "I'm not sure you'll get him, but he's the one." Here's what I knew. I knew what Coach Softley would bring to this campus. It would give him a platform to really not only impact this school community, but the Lubbock greater area. But I also knew, because of what this place had meant to my family, what it would do for him. It was going to be a mutual beneficial, relationship. And so I was hopeful and excited when he said yes.
And we went from like fighting mad, we're not doing this, to like in tears, like the Lord's calling us to go to Lubbock. One of the drawing points for us was we went to the state semifinals at Sunnyvale. I had a great football season. We lost on a Saturday. We had basketball tryouts on Monday morning at 6 a.m. I was doing track practices at the same time as basketball, overlapping, doing both in the season. It was a grind. And so for Chris and I, as friends, to come into a place that has a Christian undertones that we can really push and do it differently. Coaching's still hard. It takes time. It does take time. But to do it differently, we're saying, hey, this is the best you've ever had, and it was tough. It was hard on our marriage. It was hard on our families, but to be able to come here and do it differently.
And to be really frank, the reasons why I wanted to say no, I think were the reasons why we ended up saying yes, is a little bit of the frustration and some of the things that I sensed and saw that I didn't feel like were quite up to the standard that I thought that it could have been or should have been. I think those were the things that I just felt like the Lord kind of putting on our hearts is like, go be a part of the solution and don't just point problems out and then run away because it's too hard.
So transition from Nebraska to Lubbock Christian. So always public school, always in Nebraska. Come to Texas football, private, and coaching with my brother. Like, if you can have more differences than that was that. But I think the biggest difference is probably the intentionality at Lubbock Christian. How seamless everybody is in their flow. Like, everybody is here for the kids.
So as we transitioned out of that kind of the first year into that kind of this next phase of like program building, because it's not just a 1 year deal and we got it figured out. There's so much now that Chris does that I wasn't even a part of a few years ago. And so that every year we were trying to become a better version of yourself. And so coaching wise and scheme wise, we're going to clinics, we're trying to improve. But the culture is the big thing where Chris had always kind of taught life lessons, even when we were at other stops. He had that kind of framework. But to do it at a place that is unashamedly Christian and talk and be able to share the gospel in relation to sports and life, like that again was a draw to bring us here, but it was like that was the mission.
Transformational coaching is what we want to do. Life lesson number one, life is all about relationships. First vertical, then horizontal. And so coming in new, our biggest thing was to spend as much time with the kids as possible and get them to love one another as well as possible. The depth of connection leads to greater happiness, leads to greater success, and it's right for a Christian school in kingdom development.
The captains were given a lot of responsibility, especially as older guys. The main thing that was asked of us was simply to buy in, to believe in where we're going, to believe in what we're doing. The last thing that us as captains wanted to be, junior or senior year, were the guys who said, hey, this coach doesn't really know what he's talking about, or hey, younger guys, we don't actually have to do that. Just simply believe in where we're going, show up, work hard.
It's a long-term game, and that was kind of the perspective I think we had to have, is we got to get the message out of why we do things this way. Again, some of those conversations were hard, and maybe some people didn't like it, but that was kind of the goal. It's just, this is too important to mess up. Not the Lubbock Christian football brand, but like the mission of like glorifying God in all that we do.
So in 2016, we instituted a freshman warbird class. We had so much interest in athletics that we couldn't facilitate. But that freshman class ended up being our first senior class in 2019. And so we had been pouring into them. They'd kind of been the lab rats, the petri dish. We'd spent a lot more time with them. We did a lot of leadership council and we did a lot of discipline. We spent a lot of time together at trying to really build that class.
I think about the year we went to state. Think about the kids that were on that team. Those are a lot of kids that were with us from the beginning. And it's one of my favorite things is to see the pictures of them then like kneeling in front of the wall in NPB, like babies, and like what they turned into, you know? Or thinking back to like some of the classes, like they didn't win a single event at any track meet they ever went to. And as 8th graders, you're like, this class is going to be a challenge. And then we got kids that are playing college baseball and college sports from those grades.
Just by God's grace, he allowed us to see some of the fruit of the labor, because in 2019, he allowed light bulbs to go off in kids' minds. And the switch flipped, and they were like, yes, sir. Like, we believe. Like, I'm drinking from the Kool-Aid. Like, we think this is it. Being able to have seniors that truly embody the leadership of the culture that you're trying to instill, that was pretty special.
Our relationship with the coaching staff was, I think, a little bit interesting at the start. I think it was kind of a me thing. I wasn't super bought in freshman, sophomore year as much as I was junior, senior year. I think that had to do with me joining the football team. But just that transition of they always were going to love me no matter what. It was just me being able to trust them and trust their process of what they were trying to get us to do. Like that changed our relationship on a dime. It just made me really just believe in those guys, believe that they were doing what was best for us and what they thought was best for the team.
Truly a family. I mean, there is no cliques. There's no this group and that group. I mean, every Wednesday night after church, we would meet up at CC's Pizza. It's we as a community trying to get better and try to better each other, not only in the athletic realm, but in life as well. And so, yeah, family for sure.
Yeah, so I was a 7th grader when Coach Softley and Coach Dude first came. I remember him sitting us all down in the MPB with these old wooden bleachers, and he would talk to us. I was, I guess, 13 at the time. But some of the things he was telling us just about instilling this culture, you know, it stuck. And now, 8 years later, I'm 21, and every other Sunday, you know, we're heading to Coach Softley's house for a Bible study. And it's something you kind of look forward to. So it kind of speaks to, you know, the relationship that he builds with his kids and his players. It's bigger than just football. It's about real life.
It's just a program that you just want every single last bit you can take of it, just because it's something that can impact not only you as an athlete, but you as a man. And now I'm a father and a husband. So it's a program that truly taught you more about life than it did about playing, being an athlete, and being a coach.
I would say the Lubbock Christian football team is a joy-filled, Christ-centered culture that tries to conform to Christ each and every day.
I think the thing that helped us most is we had a bunch of great senior groups before us and older guys that were always there. You could go to anybody at any point, and if you needed help with something, it would be anything. And I could speak for my entire senior class. I mean, it was a big help for all of us coming up through high school. And when Coach Softley came and I was able to see them completely change this entire school and for the better and change the culture and just completely give the name Lubbock Christian a different meaning.
They played at their apex all the time. We beat quality opponents again and again and again. And we celebrated like crazy because we knew that we were on the precipice of something really special in Lubbock Christian. And it's not just wins and undefeated season, but it's the fact that, man, this thing that we're talking about of trying to be as men, it's happening. Like I can see it. And when I don't pursue it on a day, like I notice.
If you go back to the beginning to like just what do we want this to do? We didn't have a blank check, not for sure. Like I wish we did, but we had kind of the blank slate to like, hey, do what you want with this. You know, we want guys here that love the Lord and love the kids and want to make this place great. And so to think back like, hey, we could do whatever we wanted in theory, and to see some of those plans kind of come to fruition late. And then as I've transitioned out of this role at Lubbock Christian, to see what Chris has continued to do, it's cool because it's a trajectory of, obviously the success is cool, but it doesn't happen without the plan, the vision that he's had, and he's done such a great job.
It's fun to see them now as young men and adults and still living it, and the impact that this school and this program and the coaches and the teammates have made. And so 2019 is very special because it kind of serves as a light, as a city on a hill, almost as an inflection point of, it did work. It did work. It's pretty special to look out and see campus as it is now, and then have the guys come back for games and have them say, man, this is really cool, coach. Like we did it. It gives me goosebumps because it's just like the vision was cast in 2016. Like it didn't have anything to do with a stadium or color or lights. It was just let's go maximize. Let's go try to achieve what Colossians 3:23 says. Like, let's just go be a part of something radical, and let's go let the Lord move.
Max out is the definition that we know. It's full glorification of the Lord by giving everything I've got. It is 100% max out effort in glorifying God by giving everything I've been blessed with. Just being able to wrestle and fight, learn and grow, and now teach it and do it from 3 different perspectives. And so Coach Softley and I have a little bit more depth of understanding with it because it was FCA, Fellowship of Christian Athletes, when we were kids. So he was one of the leaders, and I was one of the very first athletes that they were doing sports God's way mentality. And this max out was starting to be the thing, the kind of the phrase. And so I got to wrestle with it in high school. I got to wrestle with it in college, and now I get to do it as a coach. It's so different. It's so unique and different than everywhere else that you could be at. Now, there are places that probably are similar in ways, and they do sports God's way well, and everything we do schematically. I would want to be a part of this program strictly to get better as a football coach from a schematic standpoint. I think the things that we do, the things that this staff does, the things that Coach Softley's doing, it's just so high level.
Henderson Cup is best overall team in all sports, academics as well. It throws everything in there. So when you win the Henderson Cup 2 times in a row, this is something special about that. I know Lubbock Christian hasn't won a Henderson Cup since the early 2000s. And so being able to go back to back and just having dominance like that, just come back year after year, it was a lot of fun. And then we piggyback off to Henderson in my junior year, we won the state championship football game. That whole year was just amazing. It was special. We had a special bond that year.
When you think about 2022 to 2024, it's kind of the cherry on top. We talk about gospel, growth, and greatness. Those are the 3 G's that I promise to moms and dads when they come on a tour or they come to an athletic meeting. We're going to give you the gospel. We're going to grow you. It's going to be hard. We're going to push you. And at the end, greatness takes care of itself. It's a byproduct. In 2022 and 2024, that's the byproduct of all the work that had been going on for years. Kids, parents, buy-in. In 2022 and 2024, we start to reap the rewards. We start to pluck fruit off of trees that other people have planted. I mean, we don't spend too much time constructing the future because you just live in the present. But you always affect the future by how you live in the present. And so, it's funny to think about this locker room that we just built 3 years ago, and it's already at max capacity. We have more kids playing football in 7th through 12th grade than ever in school history.
Some of the things that we've seen change, one is clearly obviously the turf, the WAC, some of the cool building projects and things that are even upcoming. And the new elementary building was just opening as we were getting here. Those are just cool, like visual changes. But the culture change has been really one of the biggest ones. And Lubbock Christian's always had a great culture. My kids have been here since kindergarten. But the way in which families are excited about bringing their kids and grabbing other families and wanting other people to be a part of it, that's been one of the biggest momentum shifts that we've seen over the last 9 years together.
Athletics or activities in general are a reflection on who you are as a school. And so people who don't come to your campus, they may not tour your campus, they will interact with your athletes or your fine arts students or whatever, in public settings. And if you claim to be, a Christian school, what they're witnessing out there on the field or in the gym is extremely important, that you behave in ways that reflect what you say you are. But he has, not only impacted those young men who are putting the uniform on, but they walk the halls. And so when you ask the question about, culture and school-wide, well, maybe those students that don't have that direct connection with Coach Softley are getting an indirect, impact, because he's instilling in those young men the things that are important, and then they're sharing that with fellow students.
High achievers attract other high achievers, and the families that we're getting and the opportunities we have to coach kids that want to be pushed and taught from a biblical paradigm. It's special. And so the future is really bright.
So I've asked everybody else this question. You can give me one sentence to describe the Lubbock Christian football program. What do you think it would be?
Just getting started.